Dr. Schierholtz. Appreciate your testimony. Dr. Toussaint.
Good afternoon, Chair Warren, Ranking Member Kennedy, and members of the committee. It's an honor to be here, and I thank you for inviting me to discuss my experience with non-compete agreements from a doctor's perspective. My name is Real James Toussaint, and I'm an orthopedic surgeon at the University of Florida as of 2022. And I'd like to state for the record that the opinions expressed herein are my own and do not reflect the positions of UF or UF Health. I was born in Haiti and immigrated to Florida, where I achieved the American dream. I was the first in my family to be accepted to college. I worked on Wall Street after college to pay off my student loans. I was then accepted to medical school, where I graduated among the top of my class, and as a result, I matched at Harvard University's orthopedic surgery residency program and then completed an orthopedic foot and ankle fellowship. In 2014, I joined a private practice group in North Central Florida as their only foot and ankle trained orthopedic surgeon. I was one of only 2 surgeons with this expertise across a dozen mostly rural counties, serving over 850,000 people. Over the next few years, my partners and I felt the pressures of decreasing reimbursement coupled with the burdens of pre-approval requirements from insurers and competition from other practices. We felt that an infusion of capital was necessary to remain sustainable. As a result, we entered into a purchase agreement with a private equity company headquartered in California. The deal closed in 2017. Although I cannot disclose the transaction's details, there was indeed a non-compete clause. Per the non-compete clause, I would be restricted from practicing orthopedic surgery within 25 miles of any facility in which the group was currently providing medical services, any facility in which the group had previously provided medical services, any facility in which the group was targeted for expansion within the entire state of Florida, and any facility the group was in discussions with related to a potential acquisition. This non-compete was valid for 2 years, and of course, the group was located in multiple states. One might wonder why we would sign such a deal. The reality is that the nuances of the non-compete were not known until we, the doctors, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in transaction expenses related to the acquisition. We felt backed into a corner and believed that our only choice was to proceed with the transaction in good faith. Unfortunately, within months after closing the deal, the morale of the physicians and the staff declined. Instead of cost savings, the practice's overhead expenses increased significantly due to more layers of administrators, excessive management fees, and millions of dollars of debt expenses. The overhead increased so substantially that some physicians not only did not receive a paycheck, but actually paid to work. Despite the physicians taking on all the risks of patient care, all the while, the cost of the patients started to rise, and they complained that their quality of care decreased. Personally, I became disillusioned by management focus on dollars instead of the quality of care. I eventually put in my resignation stating my intent to leave for academic practice at the nearby nonprofit public institution. This decision made sense given that the only other orthopedic foot and ankle surgeon in the entire region was retiring, and I would be able to help educate the next generation of doctors. Despite this, the private equity group filed suit against me. It did not matter to the private equity group that a community of over 850,000 people would not have a specialist surgeon to care for them. It also didn't matter to the private equity group that the university was the only contracted provider of orthopedic care for Medicaid patients in the community, and without me, they would have to travel hours away for care. And finally, it did not matter to the PE group that the state of Florida had already enacted a special statute, Chapter 542, Section 336, stating that if one entity employs all the doctors within a special specialty in the county, that the non-compete is already void. It didn't matter to them. Despite all of this, within days of my leaving the practice, the private equity group threatened legal action to prevent me from entering academic practice. Despite the aforementioned Florida statute negating the non-compete, the private equity goals were clear: to wage a prolonged legal battle in the hopes that I would give up and leave my community before a final judgment was made. After an expensive 4-month dispute, a legal settlement was finally achieved and I was able to join the university. Not surprisingly, many patients from my previous practice told me that they were very frustrated when they called the group asking for me. They said that the private equity group lied to them and stated that I had retired from medicine, which is clearly untrue. Because of my concerns with private equity in healthcare, including their use of non-compete agreements, I joined the Coalition for Patient-Centered Care, a group of healthcare stakeholders who oppose private equity's influence over independent physicians. I have experienced the negative consequences of non-compete agreements have on patients, the physicians, and their communities. And I conclude that these restrictive covenants negatively impact patient access to physicians, limit the quality of care, and increase costs to all parties. Thank you.
What happens when a life-saving surgeon is told he can't practice medicine where he's needed most? What if a piece of paper called a non-compete agreement held more power than a lifetime of training, experience, and dedication to patients? Today, we're diving into the shocking real-life story of Dr. Rougenton, an orthopedic surgeon whose dream nearly crumbled under the weight of corporate greed. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Today's story is not just about medicine. It's about money, power, and the people caught in between. If you've ever wondered how private equity is reshaping healthcare in America, buckle up. Dr. Tant's journey began with the American dream. Born in Haiti, raised in Florida, first in his family to attend college, worked on Wall Street to pay off student loans, then graduated top of his med school class at NYU and trained at Harvard. A true story of grit and perseverance. But all that changed when he joined a private orthopedic practice in rural Florida. He was one of only 2 foot and ankle surgeons for nearly 1 million people, a hero in a white coat. Then came the deal. A California-based private equity firm swooped in with promises of sustainability and a whole lot of fine print. Among that fine print, a sweeping non-compete clause that banned Dr. Tant from practicing almost anywhere in Florida.
Parties. Thank you.
Dr. Toussaint, you're an orthopedic surgeon, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Where'd you go to med school?
I went to medical school at NYU, sir.
Okay. And you were, I think you said you were at the top of your class.
Yes, sir.
And then you trained at Harvard.
That is correct.
And then you joined other orthopods in a practice, right?
That is correct.
How many orthopedic surgeons were in your class? Were in your practice, rather?
I don't recall the number of orthopedic surgeons specifically, but there were approximately 25 partners within the
Okay.
group.
And you were a partner?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And
If you believe patients deserve better, if you think our doctors deserve freedom, share this video. Let's raise awareness and demand a system that puts care before corporate profits. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next one.